Are Syreens any good? This is an interesting question. There are two modes for assessing Syreens, with Silostra and without. The thing is, in Silostra's personal army they have recruitment and upkeep cost reductions, but Silostra's entire army does magical attacks, and this is an ethereal unit. Pro tip: don't mortar your own Syreens as Silostra. It's not pretty. Please like, subscribe, comment, and donate plundered gold and jewels to my Ko-Fi Hidden Cove. All support is highly appreciated. With my opening disclaimer aside, Syreens come in at 60 entities on Ultra, an unusually tiny number. Recruit cost is 850 gold and upkeep is 213 per turn by default. But believe me, a fully upgraded Vampire Coast, Ship Horde, and so on knocks that down a lot. Health is 6,240, for a total of 104 health per entity, which is pretty healthy and decent. Physical resistance starts at 55 default. That's a lot, but spells and magical attack proliferate in Warhammer 3, so that's a concern. Leadership is 45, which isn't great, but it's an undead faction, so this isn't abnormal. Speed is 48, which, okay, it's literally over 200% the speed of a zombie pirate deckhand's mod. For a unit that is clearly quote-unquote infantry, this is practically like cavalry for the faction, and I'm not even kidding about that. Melee attack starts at 23 default, which is emphatically not high, and is magical attack and inflicts enthralling attack, debuffing the melee opponent's melee attack by 8. So not only is this unit highly resistant to damage, it's also resistant to attack, period. Attack interval is a very standard 4 with no splash damage. Melee defense is 32, which isn't crazy high, but which is substantially better than the melee attack. Weapon strength is 30, split between psych, there's no split, it's 30 armor piercing, period. Charge bonus is 14, which isn't nothing. Mass is 90, which almost seems high. They're ethereal and all. This undead unit inflicts both fear and terror, something to be mindful of, and has Strider, so Honey Badger Syreens don't care about your trees or shallow water or whatever. They can hide in forests. In the Lord Redline skills, Haunting Horror offers a maximum of plus 6 melee attack and plus 12 charge bonus, but note that this skill, affecting a variety of units, offers nothing to Syreens with 1 pip. Masterly Splicing offers rank 7 veterans plus a leadership, which, considering the low default, makes them hang on in really bad situations much better, plus 10% speed, which is handy, and plus 5 melee defense, making them even better ethereal tar pits. In the tech tree, there is one and only one tech of relevance to Syreens specifically, but it reduces Syreens' upkeep by 10%, which is very handy. In Warhammer 3, Syreens take 1 turn to recruit anyway, so the recruit time reduction for a whole bunch of units wouldn't be a huge help, and doesn't seem to affect global for Syreens, probably since global is local times 2, and there's a minimum value of 1, not 0.5. Oh well. Now, for a Silostra army, there's one extra trick. Emerging Terror in her personal line adds 10% extra physical resistance, raising it to 65% physical resistance for the unit. But Silostra grants plus 5 physical resistance to her own army as a Lord effect, so the total is actually 70%. As mentioned at the start, having a magical attack, Queen Bess landing a shell in the middle of your own Syreens is pretty sad stuff. But the ideal matchups become even more ideal for you. Now, how do you use Syreens? That's the thing. This is a roster where a lot of units are counters to something, and in turn have direct counters themselves. The usefulness of Syreens against one kind of army can be flipped completely on its head versus another. Fighting elves using magical attack arrows, they will be quite literally shot to pieces. Fighting Black Orcs. The Black Orcs will be frustrated, distracted by song, and rolling critical ones, and they'll still slaughter the Syreens completely. Against the right enemy, you could use Syreens as a front line. Anyway, against the wrong enemy, only hiding them in forests or using them as flanking forces serves you well. Also, well, put bluntly, it matters whether it's a starting unit you can't replace, or something you can replace very easily instead. While not Vanguard deployment itself, you can easily use one or more than one as reinforcements for deep flankers like Scurvy Dogs and Mournghosts. Then, if the enemy focuses them down and you lose a unit, you can replace from your main source of production, and your enemy might have lost key artillery pieces in the meantime. So you have to see how well that they trade. The point being, this is a tar pit, debuff, and flanking unit, but without splash damage, it's not a disruptive unit. All damage goes straight past armor, so consider this a kind of damage unit. And that's why I mentioned ravaging artillery, or let's say cavalry, and even some monstrous units. If they're not inflicting magical damage, you're blunting their best lances. All in all, you're better off using Syreens as your sheathed blade in a flanking strategy, since those redline buffs greatly improve the shock damage of the unit. You won't have an easy time getting this unit to melee mulch your opposition, but there's other units in the roster for that. Why not use the Syreens to help them, and keep them viable? Take care, and have fun singing sweet songs of doom!